This is Ian Cameron for Odds HQ and Odds.com, and this is your Odds HQ NHL Stanley Cup Playoffs Betting update. Today, no NHL hockey games in action. The NHL Stanley Cup Playoffs will resume on Saturday, August 29th with 3 games. So today, we're taking the time to just, survey the scenery. Let's take a look at the landscape. That is the current NHL Stanley Cup Playoffs. We're into the second round, of course, with all of the NHL postseason. We've got 4 series on the go. Let's start by looking at the Boston Bruins and the Tampa Bay Lightning, with Tampa Bay now leading this series 2-1 following an emphatic 7-1 smackdown over the Boston Bruins in Game 3. And this series has really turned. And Tampa Bay deserves to be leading this series. I mean, if you've been watching this series from start to finish, the eye test tells you that Tampa Bay has been better and has won more periods in this series than the Boston Bruins have. Boston won Game 1, and they had a great first period, and they were better early in the second. And then that game, I thought Tampa Bay, the second half of that game, the last half of the second period and the third period, I thought they outplayed Boston. They outshot them. They had the better chances. Yaroslav Halak was very good in that game, and it seemed like every mistake Tampa Bay made ended up in the back of their net, and the Bruins ended up getting the 3-2 win in Game 1. Since that time, Tampa Bay, they needed overtime to beat Boston in Game 2, but I thought they were the better team in that game as well. And obviously, there's no doubt about it in Game 3, a far superior team as they shellac the Bruins, and they finally get to Jaro Halak in net and chase him from the net. And, back-to-back games that was for him. He's played a lot of hockey. There's a lot more video now and film and knowledge that opposing teams and opposing forwards have now in terms of where's his weakness. Where are his weaknesses? What are his tendencies? How do we exploit them? And you got to wonder now. We're going to see what Jaro Halak's made of, because he's the guy. Like, they're not going to Dan Vladar, the backup goalie. He's just a youngster. In fact, the game that he replaced Jaro Halak in Game 3 of this series is the first time he's ever appeared in an NHL playoff game. So, this is going to be Boston winning or losing this series with Jaro Halak in net. So we're going to see how he responds here in Game 4, which will be coming up. It'll be the first game with the NHL resuming play. It'll be noon Eastern time on Saturday. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But definitely all the momentum on Tampa Bay right now. There's no question about that. However, the pride of this Boston team. They're an experienced group. They've been here, done it in the playoffs many years. They've had their backs against the wall and been in this situation many times before, and they feel like, I'm sure they're going to come out, loaded for bear essentially here in Game 4, knowing they don't want to fall behind 3-1, and they're coming off just an embarrassing game in Game 3. You definitely don't want to count these Boston Bruins out. You'd probably be making a mistake doing that. Even though things look a little grim right now, there's all of a sudden a little bit of a concern about Jaro Halak and net. You just don't want to ever jump to the conclusion of writing off the Boston Bruins too soon. So it'll be a great game coming up in Game 4. We'll see what Boston's got in them in terms of a response to that 7-1 loss. Flyers and Islanders, the Philadelphia Flyers, I mean, they're just like clockwork when they lose the previous game. Their ability to bounce back and win. They've done it now 11 straight times, 11-0 off a loss since January. It happened again in Game 2. With a comeback, with a 4-3 overtime win. They blew a 3-0 lead. They had the start they wanted. Dream start for the Philadelphia Flyers with the 3-0 lead early in that game after the first period. Sean Couturier finally getting on the scoreboard with his first playoff goal. It was about damn time, really, because he and Claude Giroux, both of them in need of stepping up for this team. And finally, they at least Couturier getting on the score sheet. But again, the Islanders replaced Semyon Varlamov with Thomas Greiss in Game 1 in the first, or Game 2 rather, in the first period. And from that point on, the Islanders were really coming in waves against the Flyers and dominated the game, controlled the play, and eventually tied the game 3-3. And it was looking like heading into overtime. All the momentum was with the Islanders. They were swarming the Flyers net and the goaltender Carter Hart for the majority of the third period. And you just got that sense, man, if the Flyers find a way to piss this game away and lose, this could be over in a hurry, this series. But thankfully for the Flyers, they rescue themselves in overtime. Philippe Myers, the defenseman, with a deflected shot from the point that beats Thomas Greiss for the overtime winner. to tie the series at 1. But again, if you've been watching this series, I kind of feel like I feel in this series with how I feel with Tampa Boston. Tampa, I think, has won more periods of the series against Boston so far. I think the New York Islanders have won more periods of their series against Philadelphia so far. I think you could argue the Islanders have been the better team in 4, if not 5, of the 6 periods that have been played in the first 2 games of this series. And I don't question the Islanders' ability to bounce back strong. I think they probably will. I still kind of like the Islanders. I do like the Islanders to win this series. I mean, Philadelphia came out red hot smoking in that game in Game 2, and yet what happened? They had to hang on for dear life and escape with an overtime win. I don't know if that's a great omen moving forward for this Flyers team, but it's at least a confidence booster that they finally got some offense. 4 goals. It's been a long time since the Flyers have scored 4 goals in a game, so at least they can go into Game 3 with the confidence that they got some offense finally, as goal scoring they had scored 10 goals in 7 games prior to the 4-3 overtime win in Game 2. So we'll see if the Flyers can get more offense throughout the rest of this series. We turn to the Western Conference, Vegas and Vancouver. Vegas shutting out Vancouver 5-0 in Game 1. And Vancouver responding. And I was not one of those people that was writing Vancouver off. I know some people were. And I'm like, have you not watched this team? And did you not see how they responded against St. Louis when St. Louis won Game 3 and 4, tied the series 2-2, and everybody thought that young Canucks team would be shaken, quaking in their boots and rattled. And all they did was come back and win Game 5, win Game 6, and close out the defending Stanley Cup champions. They're a very resilient team. They're mentally tough. They're not fragile. They haven't shown me one bit of fragile mindset during these playoffs, and they had a much better Game 2, defeating the Golden Knights 5-2. Elias Pettersson, a great game, a goal and 2 assists. Bo Horvat, the captain, 2 goals for him in the win. And the return of Tyler Toffoli to the lineup from injury, who hadn't played since Game 1 against Minnesota. He comes back and has a goal and 2 assists in the return, including the first goal of the game against Vegas the other night. This is what they got him for. He's a playoff performer. He was shown the ability with the LA Kings to raise his game at playoff time, and it wouldn't surprise me to see him be a big playoff performer for the Canucks here either. Jacob Markstrom was good in net, 40 blocked shots for the Canucks in Game 2. Vegas definitely will play better. This is absolutely a wake-up call. Peter DeBoer saying that, we just nothing was clicking, nothing was working. This is a bit of a wake-up call for our team, he said. The Golden Knights definitely have been very good off a game where they've been held to 2 goals or less. They're 8-1 in that spot the last 9. So Vancouver, I think, still has a puncher's chance in this series, in my opinion. I really believe that. But they're going to need to be on their game coming up here in Game 3, because you're going to get a much better game from the Vegas Golden Knights. Very interesting to see the goaltending situation. I'll be honest, outside of the shutout against Vancouver in Game 1, Game 2 against Vancouver was not great for Robin Lehner. Couple games in the Chicago series, I thought he was okay, but he wasn't great. There's a door opening more and more, and that door is opening ever so slightly for Marc-Andre Fleury maybe to make a start in net in one of these games. We'll have to see if that ends up coming to fruition. The last series, Colorado, Dallas, and boy, the Colorado Avalanche were a 4-3 deficit midway through the third period of Game 3 from maybe being done in this series. Stick a fork in the Colorado Avalanche. They're done if somehow they blow that 3-1 lead and end up losing 4-3. But what a game that was, that Game 3, right? That was the last game actually that was played before the 2-day NHL suspension of play to protest. And what a game that was. Colorado was on the ropes, down 4-3. Jared Bednar, the head coach, creative quality coaching to call a timeout with about 9 minutes to go, rally the troops, get them all back on the same page, give them a chance to catch their breath. And then they just came out after that timeout and took over the game. Tied it at 4, took the lead 5-4, and of course they iced the game with an empty netter. 6-4 Colorado win. And really, they saved the series, because I don't think they would have come back from a team as veteran and experienced and playing as well as the Dallas Stars are right now. I don't think they would have come back from 3-0 down in this series. That was a game they had to get, And you give the credit to the Colorado Avalanche, who are battling through just a ton of injuries. I mean, Philip Grubauer out, the number one goalie. Erik Johnson is a impact loss on the blue line. I think Colorado's been running around defensively like crazy in this series. Breakdowns, giveaways. Just where is that steady, solid defense we saw against Arizona in the regular season? It tells you they miss Erik Johnson. Erik Johnson is a steadying, solid, stable presence on the Colorado defense, on that blue line, and they have not really had that same level of play in their own zone without Erik Johnson since he got injured. I know they've got tons of great young blue liners like Ryan Graves, Sam Girard, and of course Cale Makar, but they miss Erik Johnson and his steady defensive presence big time, and you're seeing that right now in this series. But that was a huge win for Colorado. This could be a win that shifts the momentum in their direction. They're now only down 2-1, and now Game 4 will be, I believe, Sunday between these two teams. Every game in this series has gone over the total, by the way. Perfect 3-0 to the over in the first 3 games. And I believe, I think I saw just a couple hours ago, initial lines at a couple books for this weekend's games. And I believe Game 4 of Colorado-Dallas, they posted the total of 5.5 yet again. And yet every game has flown over 5.5 goals in this series. So I'm not sure what the odds makers are seeing here. Like, why has there not been an adjustment yet? Usually, by the time you get 3 straight games in a series over the total, and you've been lining each total at 5.5, eventually you bump that sucker up to 6 at some point. Do you not? I've seen this before, yet it hasn't happened yet in this Colorado-Dallas series. I'm still seeing 5.5 out there for the Game 4 that's going to take place on Sunday. So maybe another over is worth the look in that series. Before I wrap up futures, in terms of a futures update, and win the conference, win the Stanley Cup specifically. I'm going to look at the Stanley Cup futures right now. We'll update you where things stand there. Vegas is plus 260. They're the favorite. Tampa Bay plus 350. Dallas plus 650. Philadelphia plus 750. Colorado plus 750. Boston plus 750. New York Islanders plus 800. Vancouver Canucks plus 1300. Obviously, Vegas could, has it in them to win the Cup. Tampa Bay certainly does, but you're not getting great, you're getting plus 260, plus 350 with those. From just a strict value standpoint, what's got good value to me right now if I were to make one futures bet right now to win the Stanley Cup, based on where things stand right now, it would be the New York Islanders, without a doubt. Plus 800, I think that's fantastic value because I think they beat Philadelphia, and then they go up against a Boston or Tampa Bay in the Eastern Conference Final. I think they could beat either of those teams. They've got more scoring than people think. They've got Anders Lee, Anthony Beauvillier, Matt Barzal, Jordan Eberle, Brock Nelson, Josh Bailey, Jean-Gabriel Pageau, which was a great acquisition at the deadline from Ottawa. They have more goal scoring in them than they used to have, and more than people think. They've got the steady, structured, good blue line, solid goaltending. I know Varlamov finally had a hiccup in Game 2, but I think he'll bounce back. He was brilliant before Game 2 against the Flyers. I think he can get back on track. That's the team where the value is. They've got a legit deep run in them. Deep run potential, I should say, for the New York Islanders. If I were to make one futures bet right now to win the Cup, that's who I'd be looking at. Islanders, 8-1, plus 800 right now to win the Stanley Cup. There you go. That's your Odds HQ NHL Stanley Cup Playoffs betting update. I'm Ian Cameron. Thanks for watching. We've got NHL playoff action resuming on Saturday, which means my daily best bet preview videos and articles will be returning on Saturday as well here at odds.com and the Odds HQ YouTube channel. Make sure you're checking out both every day for great sports betting content. Thanks for watching. I'll be back with you on Saturday as we resume our Odds HQ NHL playoff betting preview videos.